Well, today's episode is going to be a little bit interesting one. So we have, of course, AEW Dark Elevation with 7 stacked matches. I say there's some really good matches that were involved in this one. However, we're also going to review the much recent event, the Jersey J Cup that was hosted by both JCW and GCW talent. But to the added bonus, there's 2 sessions involved in this particular tournament. We have session 1, which is filled with all first round matches. Second session fills with second round matches and a semifinal matches, and of course in 4-way tag team match. And of course, we got the finals. However, whoever wins the Jersey J Cup not only gets the trophy, they will be inaugurated as the JCW champion. I have to say this is going to be exciting to talk about who is most likely going to win it, who most likely will try to make it to the finals of that. So they'll be divided in those sessions. And also explain that each session has a different time period that took under 1 day. And of course, we got some news updates to share what's been going on in the world of pro wrestling, such as what matches are being booked, anything unusual, things that have been coming out in wrestling, and so on and so on and so on. So, let's get ready for another episode of Deleted WrestleZone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Welcome everybody to Deleted WrestleZone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, Gerard here. So, let's begin with AEW Dark Elevation since it was Monday, which I say is Monday. The first one we have Dark Order, Silver Reynolds and Uno taking on the team of El Cobarde, El Dragon, and Vari Morales. Since they're in El Paso, Texas, it makes sense why those guys are there. But this is a pretty interesting match. Not to mention we have 3 competitors with masks, only 3 of them without masks. In this case, I like to say this was a pretty good match because we've seen how effective Uno, Silver, Reynolds have been ever since Dark Order has downsized to the last remaining members, which is of course is them. So I have to say it was a pretty good combination of wins with the kicks, suplexes, whatever. But it was the jackknife by Reynolds that allowed them to win the match. Next thing we do is see a segue with a little segment with Ethan Page and Matt Hardy. Now, Matt Hardy, as you know, he's been recently had a change of attitude, trying to be nice to Ethan Page, despite the fact that he's a dick. But of course, Ethan Page is like not sure if he's being 100%. But the way he looks at it, it looks like Matt Hardy is doing it. So we're just seeing that whole story unfold itself. So we'll see what happens in the upcoming weeks. Now, our next match, we have Big Bill Morrissey taking on Gino. You can guess this match ends with Big Bill choke slams Gino right away, and boom, it's over right from there. Next up, we got Layla Gray, Jade Cargill taking on Dulce Tormenta and DD Doom. Now, you know that Layla Gray will step up first in order to start the whole thing, but it was Jade Cargill who finished it off with the Jaded onto Dulce Tormenta once again, proving she's undefeated. But one way or the other, we know for a fact someone will have to make her be defeated. We just don't know who is going to be the one doing it, but we just got to wait until the time comes. Next up, we have Brian Cage along with Prince Nana taking on Justin Taylor. You can guess this match ended with the drill claw right there and there. So, of course, Brian Cage wins this match. Next up, we got the women's. Amy Sakura and Nyla Rose along with Vicky Guerrero. So, as you guys know this is Guerrero country because, of course, Eddie Guerrero is from El Paso. And, of course, Vicky Guerrero is I'm sure she still lives there or doesn't. I don't know. But as you know, she is welcome there because it is the home of the late Eddie Guerrero. And this match had to fall in favor of them because Vicky represents Emi Sakura and Nyla Rose in the ring. And of course, I did not expect that Vicky was going to get involved, which she did. But it was, of course, a pinfall by Nyla Rose that allowed her to pick up the win. Next up, we got the magical girl, Yuka Sakazaki, taking on Vert Vixen. I thought it was a pretty good match. It showed. But once again, I saw that Yuka Sakazaki won with the magical girl splash and wins that ways. But however, that does not end there. On post match, she was viciously attacked by Athena. As you know, Yuka Sakazaki is going to be challenging for the ROH Women's Championship. But the obvious question: will that happen? I wouldn't be so sure if this is going to take place at Supercard of Honor, if that's the case. But we're only like 2 months away from that. So we'll see what happens until they make the decision, or they just make it happen as soon as possible. Because I don't know if any of us would want to wait that long. Next up, we have Josh Woods taking on Man Scout. You can guess this one falls in favor in Josh Woods. When he applied the German suplex, it was over right from there. Next up, the Best Friends taking on Aiden Colt and Frank Stones. This one already ends in the favor of the Best Friends, as always, because, they have a unique way of being who they are and how they win their matches. So I think that's pretty much it what we have for AEW Dark. I believe it's time for the Jersey Cup Tournament, Sessions 1. Okay, so we got the Jersey Cup 2023 tournament. This one was an event that was brought back by GCW. It's part of the JCW brand, as you all know. Now, this was a very stacked participants in the tournament, like possibly over 30. I'm not 100% sure, but however, they was divided in 2 sessions. Session 1, it's all first round matches. So that's what we're going to focus right now. Now, the second match, that's for like the second round, semifinals, and all this and that. But we're going to focus on this one. Now, the sessions began in different time periods, despite the fact that it was in one day only. So session 1 started at 4 p.m. in Jersey time, I believe. And of course, session 2 began at 8 p.m., which makes perfect sense. So right now, let's focus on session 1 instead. So it opened up with Alex Shelley taking on Jordan Oliver. Now, I thought this match was a good opener, seeing how this was going to go out, because these two are fantastic wrestlers. You look at Alex Shelley, he's been there, done that, been with various promotions, tag team specialist. He's the current Prestige champion, the current Revolver Remix champion. And of course, Jordan Oliver, a young pillar of the JCW roster. I have to say, he is a very talented wrestler, but I did not expect exactly. So basically, I was biased on this one, but it took only a cloud cutter for Jordan Oliver to pick up the win. I'm like, okay, not a big deal. Next up, we have a 6-way scramble match that is involved in the first round. Now, here's the kicker. Only one participant will walk out, while the other 5, as you know, they walk away with nothing. But however, this was a risk that the 5 of all 6 competitors wanted, so they volunteered on this one. However, this is what we have who participates. We have Marcus Mathers versus Yoya versus Dante Leon versus Dylan McKay versus Cold Radrick versus Grin Reefer. However, Grin Reefer was a last-minute entry due to the fact that Jack Cartwheel was supposed to be involved. No specifics on why he wasn't there, but hopefully that will come into light and we'll find out more. But the match was pretty good, but there's only one X factor in this match, is Marcus Mathers and Dylan McKay. Together they're known as Wasted Youth. So the obvious thing in this kind of scenario, will these two try to work together to get rid of the competition and only leave the two of them last standing until one of them walks out. That is the possibility. So anything could go. But, however, it was Cold Rhetoric with the Sebastian Curse onto McKay that sealed the deal. So basically, the other 5 competitors are out, and he advances into the next round. Next up, we have, of course, Alec Price versus the piece of garbage himself, Blake Christian. Now, we all know what's been going on in Blake Christian's head. He's been acting up ever since, beating up the opponents as soon as they were over. But he's facing a guy who many fans were probably considering he's the fan favorite to win. Honestly, I felt the same way too. But sooner or later, something was going to change. I should have seen this one coming. Referee was knocked out of the blue. And of course, Christian blowed Alec Price and then gave him the stomp for good measures, just like that. So basically, he won by getting away with it. Now, our next match, we have Starboy Charlie versus Joey Janela. This was a very good match because these two were supposed to be in a tag team match a couple months ago, but no luck. But I'd say it was a pretty hard-hitting match in this one. But sadly, one of them had to walk away, and it was Joey Janela with the package power driver on the apron to put away Starboy Charlie and won. Basically, Joey Janela took certain extreme measures, not too extreme to win, but more like ways that he knows it's legal to do what he did, but to walk out as the winner. So I think he was the smarter one in the ring. Next up, we got Lio Rush taking on the biggest a-hole in GCW, Tony Deppen. You probably can guess. Tony Deppen, once again, being an asshole, as always. He did not want to face Lio Rush, but he had to. Now, you probably would have thought Tony Deppen is the biggest scum on the planet. He was going to try to win this one. Nope, it did not happen. It did not work. It was Lio Rush with the last hour, or as we call it, the frog splash, that allowed him to win and go to the next round. Next up, we got the root of all evil, the one guy nobody wanted in this match, Charles Mason taking on Billy Starks. Now, many fans, including myself, we were all rooting for Billy Starks because we know how despicable, sick individual Charles Mason is. He finds ways to ensure he wins. Not to mention, he thinks that he is politically correct about everything. But in the end, it was a power driver that allowed him to win to the finals. But I'm worried about who will be his next competitor. That's the thing. Next up, we got two of the best luchadors we've always watched. We're talking about Commander and Aries. Now, this is one of those matches you know people are going to stand the hell up and say holy S. You know what I mean? So that's always been one of those matches you definitely got to get behind. So how this was going to turn out? Well, anything could have happened. But Commander pulled off the win by applying a springboard 450 and allowing himself to win the match. Now this, our main event for the last round of the first round matches in the J Cup. We have Mike Bailey versus the Octopus, the Foundation, Jonathan Gresham. Now these two are fantastic wrestlers. You look at Mike Bailey, the speedball. He is an amazing athlete, striker, all of that. Versus a guy who he's going to put every muscle joint into like he's going to break you in half. So that's one of those things I like about matches like that. But how is this going to play out? Anything could go down. Anything. But I did notice how Jonathan Gresham was being more methodical. What is Mike Bailey's strength? It's his kicks. As you know, you saw how good his kicks are. So I have to say Jonathan Gresham was smart enough. But apparently not smart enough because he ended up on the wrong side of the Fumblingo driver by Mike Bailey, allowing himself to advance in the next round. Now I have to say some of these matches are amazing. I have to say great pick on everything on the first round in session 1. So I can't wait to see how this one with session 2 goes. So let's get started with that. Okay. Jersey J Cup Session 2. Now we open up with the second round matches. First match, we have Mike Bailey versus Commander. Another different type of element of wrestlers. Possibly this is something you definitely would enjoy. Now, we know Mike Bailey, fantastic striker. You got Commander, an unbelievable luchador. However, who will dominate this match? Well, I have to say they were both fantastic matches. But once again, Mike Bailey, proven how, as you know, people say he's making up for lost time that he had for 5 years not coming to the States. And I feel like it did pay off because he put away Commander with, once again, one of his finishers, the Flamingo Driver, and bammo! He goes to the semifinals. Now, next match, we have Charles Mason versus Jordan Oliver. Now, you know Charles Mason. No one stands that creep. This guy is a creepy as hell that you know he will try to find ways to win. But Jordan Oliver, he is the kind of guy who is, you can say, never surrender, never say die, never quit. That sort of attitude. Now, we know that Charles Mason will try to pick out every moment that Jordan Oliver would do. Now, we know that one of Jordan Oliver's main weapons is the Cloud Cutter. But the obvious thing is, how many times will Charles Mason try to duck it? Well, it could happen at any given way. But in this case, it took maybe a few tries for Jordan Oliver to apply the Cloud Cutter and pick up the win and advance into the semifinals. However, I wouldn't be so... if I was Jordan Oliver, I would have eyes in the back of my head, because if I was Charles Mason, I will not take it likely that I lost to someone that he thinks Jordan Oliver that no one cares about him, because you know how Charles Mason, he thinks that he is politically correct. I wouldn't be surprised if that happens down the line. Now, our next match, we have Lio Rush versus Joey Janela. Now, these two have come across each other before in the past. Now, if you remember, Lio Rush, ever since he was released from WWE, he made his personal mission to go after Joey Janela on certain occasions. And it did. So this is more like a rekindle moment for them to reignite that feud. And I thought it did play pretty well. Like, you probably would have thought somehow Lio Rush would have pulled up an upset, but not this time. It took a double stomp by Joey Janela to put away Lio Rush, giving him the win and going to the semifinal match. Next up, our last one in the second rounds, we have Cold Bradrick versus Blake Christian. Now, I know for a fact I've always talked about Blake Christian, how he has changed. You know for a fact he would look for ways to ensure he wins. Since he had a change of attitude, nobody likes him because he's become the biggest a-hole on the planet, and they keep telling him F you all the time. So it would have gone either way. I mean, Cole Radrick, he's also one of those competitors that refuses to stay down. But however, it was a stomp by Blake Christian that allowed him to win and go to the semifinals. Now, our next two matches are the semifinals of the Jersey J Cup. We have our first match, Jordan Oliver versus Joey Janela. This is going to be interesting. You have one of the young pillars of GCW taking on one of the bad boy who's also made a name for himself in GCW. And I think that kind of sets the whole standard. However, this match shows how much Joey Janela knows Jordan Oliver in every aspect to pick up a win. But Jordan Oliver, you know how he is. He is young, fresh, young, dumb, and broke. That's what he does. So how many cloud cutters that he needed to pull away? Well, I'm going to say maybe 2 or 3 times until he finally put Joey Janela win and advanced to the finals. Next up, we have Mike Bailey versus Blake Christian. Now, this is another crucial match. Keep in mind, Mike Bailey is a fantastic striker, as always said. But Blake Christian, he's another guy that would do extreme lengths to go as far as he go to pick up a win. But throughout the entirety of this match, Blake Christian refuses to acknowledge the law. I'm talking about the referee, the female ref, Scarlett. There are certain times Blake Christian was not going to tolerate her. He is determined to go to the finals. As you remember, he's been in a tournament where he lost big time. Now, you probably would have thought that he would try something out of his way. It did not. But in this case, it was Mike Bailey who picked up the win with a sort of a, I don't know what they call it, but that's how he won. But Blake Christian was not a happy camper. He decides to take his frustrations out on Scarlett. He was about to hurt her and then put her into a DDT. And the referee corps shows up to give a helping hand. This was a despicable act from Blake Christian, attacking a ref who is laying down the law. So the real question does remain, what is JCW and GCW are going to do about it? Are they going to suspend Blake Christian for his attitude? I'm sure he probably will blame the ref for his misfortunes and all that because he stooped to a new low this time. But we'll see what happens. I'm still waiting on Twitter. What's going to happen? What is the final decisions? Wrestlers are not supposed to put their hands on the referees. Now, before we get to the finals, we have a match that gives enough time for our final two competitors to get enough rest before their final match. We had a 4-way tag team match. Team number 1, we have different youth. We have Marcus Mathers and Jimmy Lloyd versus Dante Leon and Alec Price versus the Brat Pack, Billy Starks and Starboy Charlie. And finally, the originators of the Spanish Fly. We're talking about the Spanish announce team, Joel and Jose Maximo. Now, you probably would have thought in this way, this is going to be an excellent tag match. I would say it did. Now, anything could go down in these type of matches, but the X factor is referee will probably lose control of the match because you're trying to determine who is legal and who is not. But in this case, it was the Spanish announce team that picked up the win when they applied a Spanish Fly onto Marcus Mathers and pick up a huge win. However, as soon as the match was done, they requested a microphone. It appears now that the Spanish announce team has announced the new goal and set. And you probably can guess it. Yes, they want a shot of the tag team titles. Now, I don't know if they ever held the GCW tag team titles, but I'm sure they would like to have a challenge. But the obvious question is, will the GCW officials make it happen? Will Los Macizos accept it? Well, we'll see about that in the upcoming weeks. Now, let's jump into the finals in the Jersey Cup. We have Young, Dumb, and Broke, one of the young pillars of GCW, Jordan Oliver, taking on Speedball Mike Bailey. Now, this was a pretty good match. I was like blown away. So, how was this going to go down in any possible? I have to say, but I knew that Mike Bailey was smart enough to know that the main weapon that Jordan Oliver was going to do was the cloud cutter. So basically, Jordan Oliver had to think a different strategy in order to win the match. And he did. He applied many times a sitting power bomb. That was what allowed him to win the match. And I was like so blown away that Jordan Oliver won. I think he earned his dues on this one. But to present him the trophy and the belt is none other than the king of the Murder, Death, Kill gang, Nick Gage, comes out to present. And of course, I'm sure Jordan Oliver was so pleased that the boss shows up and gives him his presence. So now we have a brand new JCW champion. Now the real question does remain, as soon as this is over, who will be the first to take a crack at our brand new JCW champion? Just wait and see until we get the long lines. I wouldn't be surprised because we know JCW's next event will be next month for March Madness. Now, if there's any competitors between here and now that probably will go to Twitter and say, I want to crack at Jordan Oliver. Well, anything could happen. So we'll just got to wait and see in the upcoming weeks, and we'll go from there. So I think that's pretty much it with that. So let's move on with news updates. Okay, welcome to our news update. So, let's get started right now. Now, as you know, this month we have the upcoming Stardom event, Showcase Volume 4, that takes place on the 26th. I mentioned certain matches. Now, there was a particular match that was mentioned, but it was never mentioned when it's going to take place. And that is a Kozen Captain Falls match. I did not know what that meant until I saw the card. And Mariah May mentioned this in her interview with what's his name? With Scott Edwards from Fightful Select. She mentioned that her, Mina, and Waka will be teaming up to take on Tam Nakano, Natsupoi, and Saki. Now, that was going to be a very interesting matchup. So, basically, Waka and Tam are now the respective captains in their teams. Now, I know there's a lot of things that are taking place. Now, if you guys follow the storyline with Waka and Tam, let me give you a fresh recap for those who are not familiarized, those who have not been keeping up, or those who are new to the channel. As you know, Waka Tsukiyama, since she debuted in 2021, has not picked up a win since then. But her story continued to develop. She became like a crowd favorite due to the fact that she is the lovable loser in the entire Stardom roster, especially with the Cosmic Angels. However, she was many times over close in winning matches, but she's unable to pick up the win. But one of her recent matches from last November, when it came in New Blood, when she teamed up with Tam Nakano, apparently things have not been going well for her. Apparently, that evil fiend Ram Kaicho got into Tam's head, blaming her for Waka's failures. However, Tam Nakano last December gave Waka 3 months. If she doesn't produce any wins by then, she's being forced to leave or expelled from the Cosmic Angels. But recently we have seen some developments with her, especially what happened on January 21st. Waka ended up in her first draw in the match. And of course, Julia told her that she felt that she was fighting Tam. And of course, that surprised her. But that match, I have to say, this is going to be another test for her. How much has she's grown from then? Well, we'll just got to wait and see, because her final match, if she doesn't win this one, will take place on the 25th in March in the New Blood Premium in Yokohama. Now, New Japan, as you know, as you guys saw what happened in New Beginning in Osaka, it appears Hiromu Takahashi has a new challenger, and that challenger is none other than Lio Rush. Now, Lio Rush made the announcement that he will be challenging for the IWGP Jr Heavyweight title to finish what his tag team partner Yo has failed to do, is to obtain this title. And now it's been official. It's going to take place at the New Japan Cup Finals in Nagaoka. And I don't know what day that lies, but yes, so it's going to happen. The officials made it happen. I think we're all excited for it. Now, for all you Gatoh Move fans out there, you may or may not have heard some interesting developments. It appears that our current Super Asia champion, Balinaki, will be making a trip to Thailand to take on, what's his name? Shivam on the at the promotion Setup Thailand Pro Wrestling. So this is going to be on the Setup episode 12 on the 18th of March in Bangkok. So this title will be on the line. Now, those who probably aren't familiarized with the idea of why would Balin Aki go to Thailand, if you guys are familiarized with the Gatoh Move story, those who don't are familiarized or not or new to the channel, you probably ask, why would this guy from a Japanese promotion go to Thailand? If you follow the history too well, Gatoh Move originated in Bangkok, Thailand. This happened right after Emi Sakura left Ice Ribbon and formed this company, and then years later, she moved it to Japan. So basically, Thailand will always have a special place in their hearts, and I think that's why. But I can't wait to see this match. This match, you can see it on YouTube. I'm just going to wait until it's uploaded. It's not going to happen right away or happen live like they do in Gatoh Move. That takes time. I will post that out as well, and hopefully attach it. Now, speaking of Gatoh Move, as you may or may not have been aware, in the recent Choco Pro event, it was announced that Gatoh Move will have a new show coming up in Yokohama. I believe that's going to be later on this month, on the 28th. And they already announced 5 matches that will be taking place. We have Mei Suruga and Balian taking on Rina Yamashita and Drew Parker. CDK, Masahiro Takanashi and Chris Brooks versus Guy Hawks and Rekka. Chiko Shikawa taking on Tai Hamna. Miya Yatsuba versus Coyote Yonoyama. And then finally our trios match. We have Trans Am Hiroshi and Sayaka Obihiro taking on Mochi Natsumi, Tokiko Kihara, and Antonio Honda. So those are the 5 matches. Now these shows will be on YouTube, but it will not be live right away because, as you know, recently I reviewed one of their last show of 2022, Arena Shinkiba. I'm not sure when they will upload that one, but once it does, I will be reviewing that. Now, if you guys want me to upload the link, if you guys haven't seen it, or just find it on YouTube, that's how it is. Check it out. Now, 2 matches have been announced for the upcoming wrestling Revolver event, DRIP, on the 4th of March. We have a 3-way dance taking place. We got Rocky Romero versus Jake Crist versus Lince Dorado. However, the Revolver Remix title will be on the line. We're going to have Alex Shelley taking on the Monster Hunter, Matthew Palmer. Now, for all you Prestige Wrestling fans, or more particularly, Tokyo Yoshi Pro Wrestling fans, if any of my subscribers are from the state of Oregon, if you guys are unaware of this, Prestige Wrestling is announced for the Roseland 5 event taking place on the 29th of April. The ace of Tokyo Yoshi Pro Wrestling, the Pink Striker, Miyu Yamashita, will be there. So go on Twitter or whatever social media, check it out. I don't know when their tickets will go on sale. If you're fans of Rina Yamashita, go check it out. And then we have, of course, the upcoming Mark Hitchcock's Memorial Super Show that will take place on the 30th of March during WrestleMania week. We're going to have an old feud between these 2 wrestlers dating back 30 years ago. We're talking about the legendary Ultimo Dragon taking on Negro Casas. That's right, you may have heard of him. If you guys aren't familiar with Negro Casas, he is a legendary wrestler. He's 2nd generation wrestler alongside his brothers, Felino and Heavy Metal. And he does have nephews who are wrestlers too. So this is going to be interesting. And both these 2 guys are familiarized with each other from decades ago. So basically, they're going to be rekindling old feuds. I can't wait to see it. Now, our last update, GCW has announced for the Holy Smokes event that takes place on the 4th of March. Effie will be in the match against the psychotic Slade. Yeah. I don't know how this is going to go down, but if I was Effie, I would try to be smarter against a guy like him. So we'll just wait and see. I think that's pretty much it right now with our news updates. So I believe let's just call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode with me reviewing not just AEW Dark Elevation, but also the Jersey Cup 2023 tournament, witnessing what matches took place, and of course, who is the winner of this year's tournament and the brand new JCW champion. As I said, we don't know who will be the first to take a crack at Jordan Oliver. I'm kind of excited to see who will be. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be a long list of people that many are going to predict or try to see who's going to be the first to take a crack at him. So I think that's what I'm going to do. But our next episode, as you know, is Tuesday Wrestling. We have NWA Power. They'll be coming into their fallout after Enough Said. AEW Dark. I'm not sure how many matches will be involved, but I'm sure there's going to be some good ones. And of course, we cannot forget NXT. As you know, we're coming up with things that took place last week. As you know, We just saw the whole thing with Jane attacking Gigi Dolan, leaving her scarred. Gigi Dolan will be out of action for a couple of weeks, but you can wait and see that she'll get her revenge on JC Jane for what she's done. And of course, we're going to find out who will be targeting what championships in the future. So we'll be seeing that as well. But for now, I will see you guys in the next DWZ time. Same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye. Mwah. And have a nice day. Bang.